Hi, I'm Jonathan Anderson, and this is a great little place I know. There's a sort of energy in Soho, which is kind of like a melting pot of everything. It's like incredibly diverse. It is incredibly, there is an energy about it. And I think that is what is so great about Soho. It's a kind of like, it's not a perfect landscape. It is kind of like this, like a mesh of different things. I think the vibe of Soho that ties in to J.W. Anderson is this idea of it is kind of like a cultural patchwork somehow. It's about tensions, it's about meetings of different diversities, different genders, and people from all around the world. You get a bit of everything. And I think with J.W. Anderson, it has always been about this like kind of cultural agitation, you know, looking at culture and reflecting in different ways. I think it goes back to when I first started my brand, this idea of a shared wardrobe, that there, you know, it's not about your gender. It's about, do you like something? You know, does it work for you? And I think that's what Soho is about. You know, you have like a sex shop, you have a Starbucks, you have a tea shop, you have Maison Bertaux. I was kind of looking at authenticity within Soho. When you look at Maison Bertaux, that is the original building. That's the original way it was. Because ultimately, during the Second World War, parts of London were blitzed. So that's why you have moments of like Georgian architecture and modern architecture, and the kind of Georgian sensibility and modernist sensibility. And there's a romance to it. There's this idea of debauchery and non-debauchery, which I think is interesting. It's a kind of, it still has that kind of tension. And when I was in Maison Bertaux, you get this feeling, well, you have to do what is real for the area. There is something, I think, for me, not living in London and coming here, there was something so quintessential, like British somehow. Like it was very, you know, the amazing woman there. There's an amazing photograph of her in the bathroom where she's got like her breasts out and she's got like a scarf flying in the wind. There's something that, you know, when I look at heroes of mine, like when you look at people like Lucian Freud and Francis Bacon, you could feel like this part hadn't changed. You know, there's many streets in Soho that you go down, you could be in a Jack the Ripper novel. You know, it still has that, you know, sense of angst, and you want those characters in Soho. There's, you know, these people who can tell you the past. A long time ago, when I first moved to London, I remember sitting in there and I remember seeing Lucian Freud walking down the street outside of it, and I felt, wow, this is sort of, you know, like, wow, really is Soho. I think upstairs is sort of like, it really feels like you're going back in time in a weird way more. I don't know. It's sort of, sometimes it's nice to be in that little booth as you go in on the left, but when you go upstairs, it sort of feels like, it nearly feels like a reading society or a book club. I hope with J.W. Anderson that we get that idea that you come in to even if you don't buy something, just talk to someone. You know, like, I think the best stores are the places, you know, I go to like an antique store with a woman called Hilary, and just going in sometimes, maybe I haven't bought something, but I'd like to go and talk to her. I think it's a very kind of British thing to do, you know, like it's very old school to go into a store and, you know, that you go to regularly and you build a relationship. I think Maison Bertaux has that. It has that kind of family feeling. I mean, what they make is really good. You know, I think never underestimate the power of food if it's good. I would at least have 3 or 4 pots of tea, first of all. And usually an eclair. I don't know, I have a very, very sweet tooth. I think anything that kind of looks like it's full of cream and chocolate. And I think, you know, by just looking in the window, I think whatever you feel that is going to, you know, sweeten your tooth is the best way to do it, you know, because everything is really good. Anything with cream in it is good.